Please help a starving artist out by supporting me on Ko-fi. Thank you. The Fazbear Trash Heap was a property owned by Fazbear Entertainment, which was used to discard any scrap that was no longer in use by the conglomerate. In the United States alone, there were 3, with one on the West Coast being the biggest one. Of course, with just scrapped endoskeletons, the junkyards wouldn't be profitable for the company, so they were free to be used by the wider public. The workers at the Fazbear dumps would strip down any machinery, drain all their fluids, remove batteries, and resell anything of slight value. Anything beyond salvage was crushed and stacked into cubes. But occasionally, real treasures were found here. For example, a while ago, a broken Fazbear delivery truck had been delivered to the dump you were working in. The company wanted this to be swept under the rug. Apparently, the man behind the wheel was the son of a higher-up, and he just happened to be driving drunk. Understandable. And one small bribe later, the thing was lost on delivery. What was inside the truck, however, was an almost fully functional Glamrock animatronic. Its shell unrecognizable, parts completely and utterly drenched and covered in algae. Understand, but they didn't want to repair this one. Too expensive. But when you lived and worked in a junkyard, with all the do-it-yourself tools necessary to bootleg basically anything, well, this was a godsend. And since the thing was lost on delivery, it was free for you to do whatever you wanted to do with it. You ordered your guys to carry the animatronic into the shed. The shed was where you lived. Well, it wasn't really a shed, it was just what everyone called it. A small 2-story house with a tiny basement workshop. Fazbear letting you live in it was super nice of them, but of course, this also meant if you ever wanted to pursue a new career, you'd be homeless within weeks. So better stay on the company's good side. The animatronic was placed in your workshop, and from there on out you did your best to take whatever you could from the dump heap to build yourself your own Glamrock animatronic. The busted shell was quickly thrown out. Nothing much you could use cracked, wet and dirty plastic for. And your weekly off day, Sunday, you went into your basement to tinker with the robot. You even downloaded an animatronic manual that had been leaked by a disgruntled Fazbear mechanic a couple years ago, to get more familiar with the machinery. Of course you knew that any bigger repairs on these was done using these protective domes they had in the Pizzaplex and other franchises. But it is what it is. Something that had caught your attention, though, was the strange head shape of the endoskeleton. It was nothing like the endoskeletons that you got. This one had big ol' ears and thick feet. And after some research, you had then discovered that this specific endoskeleton, in this well-preserved state, it was a Glamrock Bonnie. These things had stopped being manufactured after the Pizzaplex's Bonnie had vanished without a trace, and to save money he was just replaced with Montgomery Gator. Thanks to the Gator's devil-may-care attitude, he was a hit with teens, so quickly the production of Bonnies was stopped. What stood in front of you was a true relic, a true lucky find. And it truly made you happy. This ignited your passion for tinkering so far. It made you giggle like a little kid whenever you went to work on your very own Bonnie animatronic. Though you quickly came to a halt on things. Practically anything electric was busted in one way or the other. thanks to the water damage. So you needed to get creative. The most important part were the fuses and anything meant to store data. Realizing that, you started working twice as hard. You had created a list and checked it twice every morning. A sort of shopping list. Parts to look for. They didn't need to be in pristine condition, as those were way too profitable to not be sold. But damaged ones. Like a Glamrock Freddy music box that had been... Like a Glamrock Freddy voice box that had come into your possession from a franchise near the border to Canada. Apparently this Freddy had fallen down a flight of stairs. The music box had a few bits loose, but that could be fixed with spare parts from other boxes you had collected over the years. You got the hardware like memory cards and motherboards from a daycare tenant that had been found in an old Fazbear franchise that had closed down a few years ago as well. Its mechanical parts were the wrong size to use for your Bonnie, and thank God the Bonnie came into your hands first, otherwise you may have chosen the daycare tenant for your little side repair project. You kept on working and toiling away for about 2 years until all parts were in their right spots. You even DIY'd an animatronic shell using spare parts and old internet pictures of the real Bonnie animatronic. Now all you were missing was a charging station and a Glamrock Bonnie firmware, which almost instantly made you give up. There was zero chance you'd get your hands on that. Or a Fazbear engineer willing to install it for you on your project. When you realized that, you had locked yourself away in the shed for an entire week. Only telling your workers it was your special time. Being super painful this month. So they left you alone. It was in August of that year when a miracle happened. Project Bonnie had almost been forgotten by that time, when a Pizzaplex delivery truck arrived. The driver looked super gloomy, and when you opened the back of the truck, you realized why. Huh, I've never seen so many burned endoskeletons at once, you whistled surprised. You were borderline impressed. Plex burned down, muttered the driver. What? How come? And how did I not know that? He shrugged. We're still sending out letters to Fazbear to please rebuild it. We don't want to be sent all around America to work on other franchises. We are a family at the Plex. Are there more? Or is it just those that survived? You asked that you looked back into the truck. Well, Glamrocks are still somehow moving around in the ruin. Same with a couple of endos. Management said they will scrap them after they stop moving. According to the higher-ups, only then they will make a decision if they rebuild or not. These are just the ones that don't move anymore. Right. Hey, since you guys have time now... What? Do you know an engineer who can spare a few hours? You suppress a smirk due to the guy's sad demeanor. To not upset him. I know a guy. Can give you his number. Nothing else. You gotta discuss it with him. Nodded approvingly, and later that day you had a call with none other than someone called On-Duty Engineer Kevin. On duty meaning he and his fellow engineers with the same title were on call 24/7 for any animatronic repairs at Fazbear locations on the West Coast. And apparently Kevin was the favorite of the Mega Pizzaplex. And the reason you suddenly needed him was a strikingly long-eared, soot-covered endoskeleton at the back of the truck. It took Kevin 3 weeks to finally have time for you, little hustle. He arrived in a Fazbear Entertainment pickup truck. Kevin was fat, receding hairline, jolly red face. Almost looked like a young Santa Claus without a beard. Kevin helped you salvaging the circuits, and even bootlegged the firmware. Excited, he sat next to you as you turned the animatronic on. And no response. Dejected, the two of you stared at the animatronic. Truthfully, this had been the most fun Kevin had ever since the Plex burned down. Well, something like this happens. Probably something is missing. I just don't know what, said Kevin. But, well, you got all the pieces. Just gotta arrange them properly, like a puzzle. You can do it. I believe in you. The man stood up. Come when you figure it out. Would like to see an old Bonnie walking around again. Well, see you soon, kiddo. Have fun. After that, you spent the evening moody and moping in your living room once again. However, what you didn't realize was that you left the animatronic plugged in, causing the old battery to overcharge. And Bonnie gasped as he came to life. Looking around himself, his mechanical eyes tried to make out what was happening in the darkness. Something was definitely wrong. His programs, they were all disorganized. The robot grabbed his own head as he tried to make sense of the spaghetti code. It certainly was a master at work here, but there were certain commands that definitely should not be there. They made him blush if he could. The animatronic then felt for his hip, finding the electrical cable stuck in his socket, before pulling it out. He sighed as he stepped forward, before allowing himself to process where he was. A pop-up told him to find the closest Fazbear employee. However, the text for this operation instead read, "Find the homeowner." This was super weird. What Kevin had done was delete or change anything that would bind the animatronic to the normal Fazbear locations and behaviors. But also, he added a few features. Features that you were about to experience. Bonnie climbed the stairs out of the basement, his eyes skipping up and down, left to right, as he analyzed every inch of the place that was apparently his home now. Bonnie stopped in your living room, his eyes immediately focusing on you. He tilted his head. Accessing your internet, he quickly found your Fazbear credentials. And that's when another program activated, called Private Ownership. After loading to 100%, he smiled. You were now his owner, his master. Bonnie stopped next to your sleeping form on your sofa and tilted his head. He noticed that you were currently in standby, or as humans called it, sleep. Immediately started humming a lullaby, before pulling over a metal chair that seemed to be able to carry his weight. Rocking his head from left to right, in tune to the music, he continued easing your sleep. That's when he noticed that your posture was not adequate, and would lead to back pain in the morning. So he carefully began wiggling a finger on your shoulders. The annoying wiggly touches weren't strong enough to wake you up immediately, but just disruptive enough to make you turn in your sleep. The animatronic continued this until you were lying on your back, hands on your lap. However, despite Bonnie's attempts at giving you maximum comfort, his humming eventually led to your brain making the right connections and ring alarm bells as it realized you were not alone anymore. Groggy from sleep, you slowly opened your eyes, only to be met by the face of your animatronic. Immediately got up on your feet and stepped a few feet away from the robot, while Bonnie jumped back on his chair, surprised by your reaction. You're working! He nodded.
Yes, I am,
he said with the voice of Freddy. Confused, he rubbed over his neck. Sorry, couldn't find a Bonnie voice box, so I kinda DIY'd a Freddy one to fit into you.
I see, Master.
He tilted his head.
My system is not standard Fazbear software. I'm sorry if that's uncomfortable for you. I can refer to you as anything you want.
You blinked. What the hell did Kevin put into him? Anything else? You asked, and he blinked.
I have about 300 pre-installed banjo and bass songs in my system. About half of them are not regulated Fazbear music.
Okay.
And there's something else. It is locked and requires verbal confirmation of my owner to be usable.
Huh. You thought for a moment. What magical program could that be? Okay, turn it on. I'm too curious. Something told you there was a 50-50 chance you were either going to enjoy this very much, or you would end up as a bloody splatter on the ground. The animatronic, however, just nodded. And 10 seconds later, a buzzing noise came from him? You raised an eyebrow in confusion, and Bonnie looked down at his hands.
It appears I'm vibrating.
You blinked before narrowing your eyes. This was suspicious, sus even, and the noise reminded you of something lewd. You may not have known Kevin up until just today, but the man was quite the perf. It was a wonder he actually managed to get married. And just to have it as an option for you, he had been so kind to install a little extra program into your animatronic that didn't affect his personality, just made him more comfortable with certain ideas and uses for him, for yourself. Smart guy, huh? You inhaled, your heart beating faster as you understood. Would be a shame to waste this opportunity, right? Bonnie? You said, giving in to the voices in your head. Can you turn that off for a moment and get me something to drink? Like a glass of water? Excited to be useful, the robot's ears perked up.
Of course, Master.
But then he looked around himself. Oh, the kitchen is over there. You pointed at the door behind him.
Thank you, Master.
As Bonnie got busy in your kitchen, you immediately discarded your clothes. With a flustered face, you had to try this out. You had to. And when the robot returned to your living room, its eyes widened upon seeing you. So, about the pink setting, you said before spreading yourself out on your sofa lavishly. How about we see what that setting can really do? Bonnie quietly placed the water on your coffee table.
I appear to have a non-Fazbear-approved response to that,
he muttered almost shyly. You narrowed your eyes seductively before saying, You have my permission to go all in. Hey, thank you for watching my video until the end. If you're new here, I hope you stick around and watch a few more. But before I say goodbye, I'd like to remind you to like the video and subscribe. That really helps the YouTube algorithm. That's all. Hope you have a good day. Until next time. Bye!